Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and this video is going to be about comedians that I like. It's not like I watch a lot of comedians because I don't know, it's not really the sort of thing that I do. But I was watching Chris Fleming, and I just felt the need to talk about Chris Fleming. But that video would be extremely niche if I was just going to be talking about Chris Fleming the whole time. I wanted to go through some of the comedians that I personally like. First I want to do a disclaimer that I don't have a TV, so I don't really watch things on the TV. I watch things on YouTube, and my taste is kind of eclectic because I've never lived in the US, and I don't watch Swedish TV, and when I last watched French TV was before I moved to Sweden. So it's kind of a strange mix that I have here. The first people are more in the political Daily Show kind of realm. So I usually watch Stephen Colbert and Trevor Noah. Now Trevor Noah is not presenting the Daily Show anymore, but back when he was my favorite comedian, you could say. He always made me laugh, and it was really important to have him there in the middle of the pandemic. Life would have been much worse without him. And I loved Trevor Noah's Trump impression. He was like, "It is so good. We are bigly." I can't do a Trump impression, but Trevor Noah could do one. Stephen Colbert is another one of my favorites. He also does a good Trump impression. He would be like reading the Twitter, Twitter, back when it was called Twitter, of Trump saying dot dot dot. He'd be like dot dot dot. Because Trump would really do tweets with dot 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 quite a lot. And I thought that was a funny bit, and I also like certain bits that Colbert does. He has this thing called Meanwhile, which was done while Trump was still president. Now he still does it even though Trump isn't president. But it was basically to talk about the rest of news that didn't have anything to do with Trump. And his comedy bit is that he'll say, "Usually I am constructing this beautiful palette of news, but sometimes I like put all these pieces together," and he goes on a rant about how he's putting all these pieces together, and it's kind of poetic. And then he'll be like, we come to the segment, meanwhile, and then he'll be like, "Meanwhile," they will be like, well, like the comedic like timing of that is always really good. I like Stephen Colbert because he's actually pretty wholesome underneath that kind of brash persona he sometimes portrays or has portrayed in the past. So I really like Stephen Colbert. There are other ones that I watch, but to a lesser degree. I watch Seth Meyers, I watch Jimmy Kimmel. no, it's not really something that I find super funny, but sometimes they do some good bits that is kind of funny. Um, what I do watch though is John Oliver, uh, mostly for the educational aspect, but also because he's so funny when he's talking about things and he gets really riled up. My mom does not like watching John Oliver because she feels like he's too vulgar and also because he goes too quickly for her to follow. And also because it's long format. It's like a half hour of dense information. But I really like it. I like how he gets so riled up. Um, and he likes doing the comedy on the absurd, and I find that really funny. Um, so um, I would say that John Oliver is one of my favorites as well. Then we come to the people who are less political, you could say, and as a spin-off of Trevor Noah's Daily Show, it's Dulcie Sloan and Josh Johnson. And they do a comedy skit together where they compare, like they'll be like, Dulcie Sloan is a big Black American woman, and she likes to be really dramatic, and I really find her funny. And Josh Johnson, he always tries to take the more nuanced view, but sometimes he's a little bit weird in the way that he tries so hard. And they'll be having, they had this segment where it was like waffles or pancakes, and then they'd go for like a 45 minutes rant about why their side was best. And it got into really funny discussions. They'd be like beach or mountains, or each segment would be about some pretty trivial subject, and then they'd go and riff off each other. And they have such good like comedic chemistry. It really, and they laugh and laugh, and I really laugh as well, because it's so ridiculous. So I like those two, preferably when they are together, but they also do their separate comedies on their own. Dulcie Sloan kind of like plays up like she's kind of like a diva, and she won't take any shit from anybody. And Josh Johnson is a little bit more like, he'll be like, he'll play a little bit more like he's the intellectual in this. So they play these different roles, all these comedians. They know what they are good at, and that's what they do. So that's about like American, well-known, you could say, comedians. I don't watch that many other comedians like from American TV. So now we're getting into the more weird stuff. Let's just say that. I like John Mulaney. I like his classic comedy skits. I'm not really into all of the spin-off stuff that he does. He always is wearing a suit and a tie and appears very proper, but then like you find out that his life was actually pretty crazy, and that he was addicted to like cocaine when he was a teenager, and he's really messed up. But he has this image of being like very straight-laced, and his comedy is really silly and absurd. And he talks about, and he's really good at playing up these stories. So he has the story of where he goes to a diner, and the diner keeps playing the same song like many times in one other song at the Salt and Pepper Diner. I think the name is called of that skit, so that's pretty funny. And he likes joking about well, he does all sorts of skits. I really, really find him funny. Though I don't know if any of his new stuff is good, because I haven't really been into the newish stuff. But all of his classical things, just like, I can rewatch them and never get bored of them. He did another one about his prostate exam at the doctor's, and another one where he talks about his experience with like Delta Airlines, which is awful, terrible. Yeah, I really enjoy John Mulaney, but I think that a lot of people are really confused by his kind of humor. So that's why he's into the weird category. And the person that I wanted to talk about in the weird category is Chris Fleming. And Chris Fleming has done songs and weird comedy sketches. He's bisexual and pretty out there. I like his song called the Sick Jan, and it's about his tax agent and his crazy tax agent Jan, Sick Jan, and Sick Jan coughs a lot. That's why she's called Sick Jan, and the song is like, Sick Jan, like, we don't have to claim a home office if it means that we're going to jail. And like the thing about his songs is that the music clashes, and like it sounds awful, but somehow it's catchy. And yeah, I've got them in my head for some reason. So Sick Jan is one of his big bangers. And I also like his song about well, I already posted in the community tab one of his skits where he's explaining, like he's showing how it is after a show where people are signing, well, he's doing signatures, and then the last person in the line is really strange. And for some reason, it's really relatable, even though I've never been in a situation of signing autographs. It really takes you there in this weird, absurd world. Lately, one of his best songs is about boba tea and how much he loves boba tea. And that one is less funny, but more just like good music. But he does this skit where he's like talking about meeting other people's boyfriends, and where he tries to be really macho, but he actually and it's really true. He's like, to hug a bro, you know, you have to do like a stiff arm like this and go like that. And somehow it's like something I never thought about, but it is so true. I'm thinking of my cousin who was in a fraternity in the US, and like that world, I don't get it. But lately, the latest song that has been stuck in my head forever is a song about nail clippers. Which, you know, first of all, why a song about nail clippers? But he talks about how he has to borrow, and he pretends to be Sufjan Stevens. I think that's the name of the artist, Sufjan Stevens. Anyway, you know, Sufjan Stevens is always so serious in his music and philosophical about the world, and so he pretends to be Sufjan Stevens being philosophical about nail clippers, and he talks about how he borrows his brother's nail clippers, and but his brother's nail clippers were so different from his own nail clippers, and that is so deeply hurtful because he is so sensitive. And I don't know why that song has been stuck in my head for like 2 weeks, and I can't get rid of it. He's like scared and innocent, and he's like he keeps like the song makes no sense, but it's just really makes me laugh every time. So yeah, I can't explain comedy. You can't explain it. That's why I'm struggling to explain why these things make me laugh. But I would say if you want to get into Chris Fleming, start with Sick Jan, because that's a banger. He's also made a song about how it's not who you want to be polyamorous who's polyamorous. And he's kind of poking fun at, the burlesque scene of polyamory. It is kind of a weird, it's just weird topics he chooses, and he's really good at like pointing out absurdity in situation, and so that's the kind of humor that I like, even though he's weird and like I would not consider him to be commonplace comedy. I think that a lot of people would just be confused and not laugh. I think that he's an ENFP. I think that ENFPs are pretty good at comedy, and but also INTPs. I think that Josh Johnson is probably an INTP. Dulce Sloan is definitely an extrovert, like an ESFP or something. But yeah, I like the any kind of humor mostly, because it's just so fun and exciting, and it goes around with ideas and such, and yeah, so that's the kind of comedy I like. I will just think 2 seconds about if I'm missing somebody, so let me pause the video. Okay, well, so I guess I don't really watch stand-up comedy, and when I do, it's not like I find it as funny as some other people. But I do want to give a shout out to the people who do MBTI comedy, and Frank James and dear Kristin, because they do make me laugh. I do like the MBTI comedy that we can share online in our little niche group. I think it's mostly those. So tell me what you think. Do you have any comedians that you like watching or listening to? Whether it's on TV or on YouTube, or whether they speak English or not. In terms of French comedians, I don't really know anybody except Nagui is... he's not as much of a stand-up comedian, but more of like... he's a game show host, but he's always so happy that it kind of... it's kind of like he's a comedian. He always makes me feel happy, at least. In France, there's like this big tradition around Coluche, which was like a very important French comedian who, as a joke, applied to be president. But he didn't become president, but I wasn't part of that era, I wasn't part of the era where there was like one big comedian and everybody loved that comedian. What was good about that comedian is that he started the Restos du Cœur, which is a charity organization with like a food bank for poor people. But like me, myself, like I don't think I enjoy Coolidge's comedy because it's old and not really, I can't relate to it. Um, and I think that a lot of older comedians I don't really relate to. I relate to more younger comedians or comedians that are kind of less of the mainstream that everybody loves them, you know. Except when it comes to Trevor Noah and Stephen Colbert, I think that they're pretty mainstream, but there unfortunately the U.S. is so divided politically that it's not actually universal. The kinds of things that people laugh at, which is sad, but I will put the names of the people that I'm referring to in the description. Please go check them out. There is a comedy clip that I... there are some Swedish humor that I enjoy, but mostly Swedish humor is about awkwardness. It's about passive aggression and awkwardness. A bit like British humor, you could say, because of the stiff upper lip stuff. But sometimes it is a little bit too self-aware in its political correctness, and that is not funny to me, really. Sometimes I think that humor should be a little bit crude, at least in my opinion. But I don't think they should be crude, like, to the point where it's not funny anymore. At least in my opinion. Okay, well, so have a great day. Bye.